Joining me now, Victorian Shadow Housing and Planning Minister David Southwick. I mean, seriously, let's start with those numbers. I mean, they are eye-watering, David, and you can't even trust them, can you?
No, look, you can't. A debt crisis, a crime crisis, a housing crisis. Welcome to Victoria. They were caught out only a few days ago in the Glass report with $5 billion of an overspend. That $5 billion could build 12,000 affordable homes across the state. The government doesn't spend money like it's anything but just their own. You know, they just throw money like it's confetti, and we're all paying for it. We're paying for it forever in debt. And you're absolutely right in your introduction. We've got to get the budget under control. This is generational debt that we'll never recover from unless we're more financially responsible.
Do you think you as an opposition can convince Victorians that are not necessarily particularly engaged in politics about how bad this debt situation is and what it might mean for, as what I've said here, our grandchildren and great-grandchildren?
Well, again, we've got to equate what the millions and billions actually pay for. When people can't afford a home, when people can't get hospitals and schools built because there's just no money to do that, and they see the close on $2 million a day just in interest to pay off, it's not to pay off the debt, it's just to pay the interest on the debt. These are figures that they're eye-watering, as you said, but it's got to come down to what does that mean when you can't get a hospital bed, when police, because we can't pay for enough police, when services are slashed because we don't have the money. That impacts all Victorians, and that's what we as an opposition need to remind people each and every day. You can't get a hospital bed, you can't get police when you need them, you can't get homes built because the government's not managing your money properly.
David, I heard your leader, Jess Wilson, this afternoon talking about what might happen if we got a credit downgrade, God forbid, by one of those ratings agencies. When you look at the numbers I just talked about and the forward estimates, I mean, there's no guarantee that's not going to happen. How much worse would the situation be if suddenly we had to start paying more interest on the debt that we already have?
And that's exactly right. I think, again, taxpayers understand when the bank starts to charge you more interest, it only causes more problems, refinancing for some. In some instances, people are a bad credit risk and can't get another credit card. That's Victoria. That's what Victoria is at the moment. We're an unreliable place to be able to lend any money to because of the bad management, the poor fiscal responsibility. It's a real warning sign that we have a government, because they don't understand money, as you said, the Treasurer has no idea about Treasury economics. So we're all in a really bad situation as a result of it. And we've got to get this under control. It is so important for the future. We've got to build the future. We've got to get Victoria back to where it was. We won't do that unless we ensure we pay down debt and we balance the books and start to build confidence back in our great state.
Let's talk housing, your new responsibility. We saw this week the Allan government unveiled plans, well, to scrap minimum car park rules for apartment block developments. Now, this is, they say, you've got to be close to public transport, to trains or trams. Do we have any evidence of how close they say you have to be before you can buy a block of land as a developer, throw up a 20-storey high apartment block and not put car parks in it? How close do you need to be to the train station?
Well, the government hasn't released that detail. All they're saying is build it as high as you like. Don't worry about putting any car parks in it because people will either use public transport or get a push bike. I mean, this is ridiculous. People rely on cars. We don't go unidirectional from one place into the city. We go across town. And all that's going to happen is it won't make housing more affordable. And it will push more cars into the streets and where you can't get a car park anyway. We have one of the most congested cities when you see. You can't just keep doing that by saying we won't build car parks because people won't need them. It's ridiculous. It doesn't take into account the need for cars and the desire for cars and choice. And the other thing, this government has no idea when it comes to the high-rise that they want to build in these 50 precincts is some people may want to live there, but most Victorians want choice where they want to live. Here is the government telling you where to live, telling you that you can't drive or use a car, and again taxing you as a result of it by $11,000, which they want to tax on every new apartment that they're going to build as a result of it, which will again push up prices.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that. Developers will be hit with an infrastructure contribution charge. Gee, I love these terms that these spin doctors come up with. This infrastructure contribution charge, $11,350 per dwelling in targeted areas to help pay for key amenities. Now, I immediately think, well, is that per car park, that amount of money? Is that per dwelling? How does that all work? And what guarantee is there that any of that money is going to go to the local council for what they say are local amenities?
Well, that's exactly right. We're told it's per unit. We have a growth area, it's called the GAKE fund, which currently gets collected for the growth regions. The government's clawed that and hasn't put that into roads and schools and other amenity in our growth corridors. This will be exactly the same. The government's going to take the $11,000 per unit, they're going to put it to try and repair the budget disrepair that we're in at the moment, and you won't get the local amenity that you need. Every dollar that is collected in these areas should go to service those areas. And the government, in the way they do this, is thinking to themselves, well, this is great, this is just something that developers will pay. Well, we know that developers will pass this on to the very first home buyer that's already struggling. And the thing about this, Steve, is many of these projects don't stack up right now because they're just not viable. We know in the CBD of Melbourne, you're close to 18,000 homes that have got permits for them, but they're not being built right now because the numbers don't stack up. It's no use doing all of these things when you can't get the numbers across the line. People can't live in a permit. They need to live in a home. And you can grant as many permits as you like. If it's not affordable, then ultimately you're not providing any new housing.
Just a couple of other quick things before you go. The adult time for adult violent crime laws went through last night through the Parliament. They say children as young as 14 could go to jail for life. Well, that's seriously not going to happen. Here was the Premier talking up those changes.
No.
Taking these crimes into the adult courts means that jail is more likely and sentences are longer. There needs to be consequences for this sort of offending, which is why we have acted. But also too, we know there are no easy solutions here. The best approaches are to make sure that we prevent crime before it starts.
Does she really think anyone's going to believe that? Does she think any young person's going to be handed a life sentence? I mean, seriously.
No, it's maximum life. No one's getting life, so it's all spin, no detail. There are five particular areas in here that they're dealing with. Unlike Queensland that has 33, we don't have kidnapping, we don't have rape, we don't have armed robbery as the kinds of things that they have in the Queensland laws. This is adult crime, adult time light, labour light, and what the government should do if they were serious is contact David Christoforley and say, can we have your laws and just copy what Queensland's done if they were serious about tackling the youth crime crisis we have in Victoria.
Just finally, something very personal for you. Tomorrow will mark 1 year since that horrific firebombing of the Adass Israel Synagogue in Melbourne. Yesterday, Jewish leaders, I think from 7 nations, visited the site to stand in solidarity. How did you feel yesterday and today?
Yeah, well, I went past today just to have a look. I was there when it all happened. Traumatic time, something that we will never forget. I was also at the Holocaust Centre today as well with a number of politicians reminding them that we talk about never again, when all of this happened in Germany that we've seen repeat itself here. Yeah, it's been traumatic times. Only last week, Steve, just quickly, we had one of our local councils, Stonington Council, that wouldn't allow a menorah to be put up as part of celebrating Hanukkah because they don't want to allow the Jewish community to be able to do that. I mean, that's happening in an area that has 10,000 Jews living in Stonington, and that's happening now. So, I mean, no one's learning from any of this, and I think the Jewish community have had enough, and unfortunately it's been pretty tough. But at the same time, as I said before, I want to shout out to many of the listeners on your program and throughout Sky because there's been a lot of good support from those reasonable people out there that just know what a tough time the Jewish community have had over the last couple of years.
They sure have. David, thank you very much. Always great to catch up.